I would like to say welcome to all of you who've joined us today. It's a beautiful day outside, so thank you for coming inside and leaving the summer day to be joined later by all of us. I'm Karen Gimble. My husband and I, Chris, back there, we're the owners of the gallery, and I want to introduce Claire Uhlick and Mary Joyce, who will share with you briefly about their artistic processes.
Do you want me to start?
Go ahead.
Okay. So yeah, my work is the paper work here, mostly on the pillar, and there's a few pieces in the front window there. It's been a body of work that I've been experimenting with since my BFA, finished my BFA at the University of Alberta. And the work has ranged from larger installation pieces, all done on paper, or to these smaller relief type work, or even some freestanding sculpture as well, which isn't here today. But so my process, I talk about it a lot, is blurring lines between painting and drawing and a little bit of sculpture. And all the web-like marks and lines are made from images of dripping paint. So I take paint and I drip it, or ink, and I make these really energetic lines and connections. And then I use that in some way or another. In these pieces, I take them and usually photograph and shrink that mark, and then recreate it by tracing it onto another piece of paper. So some of the works are a layered compressed paper that I've peeled one layer, the top layer of the paper off. And in other cases, like the one with hand-raised head there, so I experiment a lot with light. And in this piece, there's sort of an orangey, reddy, pinky glow to it. But that piece actually has a bright orange piece of paper attached to the back of the mark, and it's just the light that's reflecting that luminous color that's creating that little pinky glow. So I work with lots of different kinds of light and shadow, and often the shadows are sort of a trick. They're drawn with graphite powder and a brush, and then there's another layer on top of that of light that sometimes overlaps that drawn mark and sometimes not. So there's sort of a fleeting quality to the light, and I often get people coming up and waving their hands, trying to see where the real light or real shadow is cast and which one's drawn. So that's a little bit about my process. I think I'll let Mary continue from that. Go here, Claire.
So it's very nice, it's wonderful to be showing here, and I have to thank Karen for recognizing that. And about my own work, this body developed, as Karen said, one time when I was invited to go on a motorcycle trip many, many years ago. And it was in the summer, and I was very nervous about taking 10 days away from my studio practice. I'm a little bit obsessive. So I got a leather jacket, of course, with 2 pockets. I put 2 pencils in one pocket, and I put a smaller book than this, but a square one, in the other pocket. And I discovered that I could hang on with my knees on the back seat, and I could draw. And I still do it, although now I'm unhappily not so likely to get a ride on a motorcycle. It's usually a car, or a train, a boat, or a plane. And the process is that the drawings, this one is from a mountain in Mexico, where Ray and I were recently. But I go home with the drawings, or I go to where I want to work, to the studio, and then if they have been done under the right conditions, which, to my mind, that's a scientific experiment somebody should do. What are the right conditions? And they seem to involve a certain amount of stress, a certain amount of anxiety, and when you have that anxiety, and I often do because what I'm drawing is always disappearing, but then there's other kinds of anxieties, like is the bike going to smash, or will that guy remember to put the brakes on at the right time, that sort of stuff. The anxiety seems to fix the sensory impressions that have been made on you by the experience in your body. I said body on purpose because I don't think that memory is entirely about the mind. I think it's about the whole person. So then I found that these little things I started calling aide-memoire, like helps to the memory, in the studio then I could recreate what I had experienced. And that involved, the next step is the watercolor. And I often found that I could do a batch of 6. Maybe I could draw 6 or 8 in one evening, and then I would come back to them later with the color. And if they were from the same trip, they were almost always from the same trip, of course, so that the colors were similar. And I would do a batch at once. And it's still the same process. And then when I got a good watercolor or an interesting one, then I would make it larger. So that's the process, very simple. Many people, many artists follow that process, nothing original. But I think the original thing that I discovered was the thing about memory. And that might not even be original. I think many scientists have probably already discovered that memory, it's not just of the mind. I think it's of the body as well, and of all the senses. All the senses participate in having you fix your memory. So the process, I guess, went from landscape without any people in it to what I'm now doing, which is people, figures in landscapes, in particular landscapes. So that's enough talking. Thank you for listening. If anybody wants to ask questions, I'll be here. And we'll be here.
Yes. And the sketchbook will be.
Yeah. That was in Mexico.
There's one.